Welcome to Conversation with Zaki Baruti, with your host Zaki Baruti. And like always, I want to give a shout out to my biological family, what's happening, to the Universal African Peoples Organization family, what's going on, and to New Life Evangelistic Center family headed by Reverend Rice. Keep up the great work, and a shout out to our amazing cameraman Bob. On that note, we'll have part 2 of a 2-part series with the 7th Ward Alderperson Alisha Sonnier.
Yes.
Did I get it right?
You got it right.
Oh, Sonnier,
yes.
Sonnier.
Yes.
Okay then, all right.
Practice makes perfect.
Absolutely. As we do part 2, some people may have missed part 1. And I always like my guests to know a little bit of the background of my guests. So if you would, please share a little background of wherever you want people to know that's listening to our program right now.
I have the honor of serving as the Alderwoman for the 7th Ward in the city of St. Louis. I've been doing that for almost 3 years. I served on the Board of Education prior to this, and my undergraduate degree is a Bachelor's of Science in Psychology. I've been very busy in a lot of activism and organizing in different organizations, started some of my own, participated in some, very passionate about housing, but I would just say ultimately I'm just a woman who believes that you're either a part of the decision making or you're on the menu.
I know that's right, and we don't want to be on the menu.
Exactly.
So, given that, and you've been an older person, how long again?
Almost 3 years.
Almost 3.
It might have to be 3. It's April 10th, so I guess now it's April 16th. I think is when I was officially. It wasn't Alderwoman-elect. It was in, so almost 3 years. By the end of this month, it'll be 3 years officially.
Okay then, and so. Your election came as a result of the reduction of the number of alderpersons serving the city of St. Louis,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So what was your overall thought on that? Some people say more people to represent than the less people. What's your thoughts on that on the real side?
I like our format now. I think, unfortunately, especially if you think about St. Louis and how we are with silos, when you have 28, you can still have a lot of cliques and a lot of divides, and sometimes not really get to kind of what needs to be discussed. When you have 14, it's best to really work with everybody because it's only 14 of you all. So I think, at least in my experience, the relationship I have with my colleagues is one that's a lot more collaborative. Even those of us who disagree will still find ways to get in a room and have conversations. And then I also think just in terms of if you want your alder role to be a full-time role, when it was 28, they only had, I think, a $35,000 or $37,000 salary. There's no way chicken wings are $20 a pack right now. There's no way that you could do that and not be able to not need to have another job, especially if you have a family. So I like our format now because I think that it forces us to work together and not be as myopic with our views when we're making decisions. You know, just because I'm the 7th Ward Alder, when I pass a legislation that's a 5-year moratorium on non-municipal detention facilities, that's for the entire city of St. Louis. They can't go anywhere. When I do legislation that prevents drones from launching without, when they have for-profit purposes, that's citywide. When you create rental registries, those are citywide. And so I think that I like our structure now because our relationships are good and it forces you not to think just about your own slice of St. Louis, but really think about the interconnectedness of our communities.
Now, when you say your own slice and there's just 14 wards, what is the areas, the peripheral areas of the 7th Ward?
So I obviously have the best ward in the city of St. Louis. I'm very biased. But if you think of kind of Cherokee Street up to St. Louis University Medical School, and so neighborhood-wise, I have Botanical Heights, Tiffany, the Gate District, Fox Park, Gravois Park, Benton Park West.
Okay. What motivated you to run for alderperson?
I was on the school board before running for alderperson, and when I went to the school board, I had a lot of people that were asking me then, like, hey, have you ever thought about alder? And I just wasn't sure if I really wanted to do that yet. I felt like I was 25. I had more time if I was interested, and honestly, I think I was very critical and wasn't sure if you could really cause real impact and change in an elected position. So I did the school board, but I would say like serving there for 2 years and learning that 20% of our children, 1 in 5 of them are unhoused, seeing just the real, I would say, economic conditions of communities, seeing decisions about abatements or TIFs and development projects and who that is for, seeing so many issues. Once being there, I'm like, okay, well, there are so many things that I think need to change, that need to happen, but I can't do them here as a Board of Education member. And then also, I had a mentor, Core Faith Walker, who died while I was still on the Board of Education, and she was the policy director for the county, and she really was encouraging me to run for higher office, but I felt like I have more time, I don't have to do it. And I think when she died at 37, I was like, oh, well, you really don't know how much time you have.
Right.
And so if I want to do this and I feel like it's this passion, I should do it. And then also at the Board of Aldermen, I did find myself getting frustrated with conversations because I would say that there were basically white progressives, and then there were black members, which maybe were not progressive or maybe a little bit more on the liberal side, depends on the issue. But I felt like when important conversations would come up, one side would say you're racist, and then the conversation dies. And I didn't really feel represented in that space. And so I think not feeling represented, seeing important conversations halt, seeing the impacts of those conversations on families and kids in real time, doing some successful things while I was on the Board of Education, and then having a mentor die very young, I was like, okay, I want to do this, and I want to see what it would be like for me to be a full-time public servant.
So as an alderperson, have you introduced legislation to enhance the 7th Ward and the city in general?
I would absolutely say so.
Okay, can you cite a couple pieces of legislation that were they approved?
Yeah, so one of the bills that I did that I actually got the idea for when I was on the school board is called TADA, or the Tax Accountability Development Act. And it basically requires that in order for you to get any tax incentive as a developer, you have to be compliant on your taxes. On the school board, I served on the TIF commission, and I also worked with families. And so I know that there are families that may be losing their homes because they owe $1,000 in property taxes. But then on as far as the developmental side, I would see developers that owe the city millions of dollars in taxes. I'm not exaggerating, and then would be getting tax incentives.
Wow. Okay.
And so on the Board of Aldermen, once I became Alderwoman, one of the first big bills that I did, I guess not the first, but definitely a serious piece of legislation is that bill. And that bill requires that before you start your incentive process, you have to go work with the Collector of Revenue, Greg Daly's office, and you have to do kind of a compliance verification. And if you're not current, you have to at least get on a payment plan. And so that is actually in effect right now. SLDC gives us regular reports. Everybody is aware of it. So I would point to that as one bill of like an example of something that actually came from our Board of Education on time, and then I was able to execute it as an alderperson.
Okay, on that note, we're going to take our first break.
Do you have any idea how many people are having to sleep outside? Yes, viewers of the Zaki Baruti Show, you are being called into action at this time. Your help is urgently needed here at the New Life Evangelistic Center. Our teams are going out every day, and we need your prayers. We need your gifts here because we receive no city, state, or federal dollars. How many times I have to personally run to the store in order to just buy meat and bread? People could be making sandwiches and bringing them to the doors here at 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri. They could be buying cases of water and bringing them here so we can get these out to the homeless people. 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri. They could write out those checks and send them in because we have to buy this. They're depending upon us. And not only that, they get bus tickets, hundreds and even thousands of bus tickets distributed to so many people that need transportation assistance. We can't do it without each and every one of you. It's New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. You can give online at nlecstl.org. Your prayers are urgently needed at this time. Come on, you watch the Zaki Baruti Show. You hear about the various issues. Now it's important that we respond to those issues by helping so many people that have fallen through the safety nets in spite of the promises of the politicians. So many people are hurting right now. They're out there. They don't know where to go. What are they doing? I don't see hardly anything in St. Louis County, Jefferson County, St. Francis County. I can mention county after county, Madison County, St. Clair County. They want to ship them to St. Louis. St. Louis can't take care of all the problems. But we got to get all these other counties involved. In the meantime, we got to get your church involved. We need you. But let's get our churches involved. Let's reach out. Let's help those that Jesus referred to. The least of these, after you've done to them, you've done it unto him. Let's help them right now. Please get involved. Call us at 314-421-3020 or share that much-needed gift at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. You can give online at nlecstl.org.
God is our hope, and when we set our eyes on Christ particularly, we see that He has redeemed our lives. And I pray that you would partner with us and join in the incredible work of giving hope to people who don't have any. please go online to nlecstl.org and learn about how you can offer life-giving hope to those in most desperate need for that very thing.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. In the studio with me is 7th Ward Alderperson. I'm going to call her Sister Alisha. Sonnier.
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 Yay.
Okay.
Think, when you see me, if you want to clap. Sonnier.
All right. Now, let me ask this. Okay, so that was a powerful piece of legislation that you passed. Let me salute. Were there any other legislation that you...
Many. I am a policy girl, so I've done so many. I also have done legislation. I would say this session, we did some procurement legislation. We had a barrier in place where city departments, anytime they wanted to put in purchase orders for over $500, they had to go through all this red tape. So as an alderperson, I know about that process because if something breaks in a park, let's say I need a new swing or a new slide. If it's over $500, they got to go through this long process that's going to take them months just to order this. Or I need to order something for streets. I need streets department to come and fix this. Well, Alderwoman, the pump broke and it's more than $500. So now we got to go through these processes. So we successfully passed some legislation to up that threshold to $2,500. And there are a lot more, procurement pieces of legislation that I think we have to talk about. This session, I also established a 5-year fingers crossed on April 19th, and hopefully it'll be third and final passed, a 5-year moratorium on non-municipal detention facilities so that the city of St. Louis would not be able to issue any permits, anything tied to that we would not be able to do. And so hopefully on the 19th, I will third and final pass that. I've done legislation to create a rental registry for the entire city of St. Louis so that we could be more transparent about our process as far as ideally one day residents will be able to see what violations the city has issued against certain folks, and the city will better be able to get in contact with a local point when we have issues with our rental units. I've done several pieces of legislation around affordable housing development and production and incentivized probably hundreds and probably thousands of units at this point to try to keep my ward is very diverse economically, and so to try to maintain that diversity. Honestly, I've done so many pieces. I'm a policy girl, and I serve on 5 committees and vice chair of the HUD's committee, and I serve as a planning commissioner for the city of St. Louis, and I also sit on St. Louis Development Corporation's board. So if you can think of a category, I did legislation to allow attorneys to get into our jails when they were having issues getting access to their clients within the facility.
I know that's right. Now, turning citywide issues, May 16th, 2025, tornado. There's a lot of people out here still complaining about the response that they are not receiving. Your thoughts on, where are we at tornado relief as relates to the masses of the people?
We're nowhere near where we need to be. I think there's no way to say that. I think that this was something that the city was never going to be able to get right. I think when you have a tornado and you have it in an area that was already disinvested in, that ups the ante. And so I think...
You say an area that was already disinvested
in.
Right. So that's years of disinvestment then.
And decades.
Which is really a crime.
Decades.
But anyway, go ahead.
Not even years, decades of disinvestment.
Right.
And so I think that puts you in a conundrum. And then you have that, and then at the same time, we have a federal administration that's actively dismantling FEMA. And at the same time, you're in a Republican state that sometimes, I think right now one of the things they're discussing is like banning solar power. And so sometimes their focus is not necessarily on the people. And so I think I would say all complaints about whether what we've done or not is right is correct. One of the things we've been able to do on the Board of Aldermen is give some funds to it. But again, one of the reasons you hear me talking about procurement is even though the city has technically given $43 million or so to recovery efforts, maybe $7-9 million has hit the ground. And part of that is that the city just does not have the infrastructure set up to move millions of dollars in resources. And so they're creating some of these things from scratch. And then I also think that you have a whole new administration. You have a whole, all these new things. Like we just had a mayoral race in April. The tornado happens in May. So you have all these transitions and things happening anyway, from department heads to others. So I think the recovery has definitely not been on par. And I would say, like, I always give my gratitude off to the community. Because I think the community's response and the community's mobilization, whether it is Action St. Louis or it's For the Culture or it's the Ville or Diamond Divas or or the 314 Oasis, a number of other organizations have really stepped in to fill the gap that there is in government right now on all levels.
So the RAM settlement, is that tied into tornado recovery? And I understand there's about $200-some million in RAM settlement, and since you had all this disinvestment, I know I one time advocated at a public meeting, put all the money for recovery.
Yes.
Your thoughts on the RAM settlement and tying in with the
Yeah, I mean, I think
tornado?
that it's $250 million that we have. And I would say that I think that definitely the bulk of that money has to go to housing repair and housing production within the tornado impacted areas. I think that we absolutely should take this fund of money and use it to help our people recover in whatever way we can, knowing that it still won't be enough, knowing that the state still has not come, we still need more money in every way on the state and the federal level. But I definitely think with the RAM settlement dollars, you have to prioritize rebuilding and sustaining your population in the tornado impacted area. We've got thousands of people who have lost their homes. We have homeowners who are now unhoused. And so I absolutely think that a nice portion of the RAM settlement definitely needs to go to tornado impacted areas. Can I say that it definitely will be? We'll see how it goes, but I can say, since I have a seat at the table, everything that I can do and everything that I'll advocate and anything that will give my vote, a huge portion of those resources.
So how is the mayor response since you and other, I would assume other aldermen have been pushing for a large amount from the RAM settlement going to the people?
I don't think that the mayor has responded yet. I don't count chickens before they hatch.
Right.
And because there's no bill and there's no legislation, there's no vote and there's no official positions taken, I think right now we can all say what we want to do as legislators. Saying one thing is another. The voting record will speak for itself. So I hope the next time I come back, I can give you an answer to that.
I know that's right. On that note, we're going to take another break.
So many people are hurting and hopeless. They feel despondent and in despair. They are living on the streets in conditions that are horrible and not suitable for any human being. And it takes so many loving people to walk alongside them and give them opportunities to change. Zaki Baruti and his show is exposing the people who are making a real difference in our community. And he's been a faithful partner of New Life Evangelistic Center for many years. And I want to invite you to be like Zaki Baruti and make an impact in someone's life today. You can love others well, and you can do it in a meaningful and powerful way. I am so thankful for people who have partnered like Zaki, and I just want to share some of the impacts that you're really making when you partner with New Life Evangelistic Center. You're offering 365 days of care for a woman in need who's fleeing domestic abuse. You're offering not just care, but discipleship and mentorship and training services for her. Not only are you doing that, you're also getting hygiene kits and survival gears into the hand of people who need them, who are living on the streets of St. Louis. Not only that, but you're caring for orphans and widows in India, and you're preaching the gospel in every single one of these places, India, Ukraine, and all throughout mid-Missouri. You're also helping hundreds of people each day in the day center in Springfield. You're making a real impact on the lives of hundreds every single day. And you do that when you partner alongside New Life Evangelistic Center, along with faithful partners like Zaki Baruti. How I thank God for people like you for change.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti, 7th Ward Alderperson, Alisha Sonnier.
Sonnier.
Sonnier. I don't know why I can't get that right. Good God almighty. Turn to another subject, just most recently impacting the city. The state has taken over basically the St. Louis Police Department. Many years I served as the former co-chair of the Coalition Against Police Crime Suppression and Repression with Jamala Rogers, and we were able to get a civilian review board and, made some changes as it relates to taking it from the state had control prior, but now they've retaken taking the power again. Your thoughts on that whole piece?
I've been very vocal about this issue. I actually did the resolution at the Board of Alderwoman, basically saying shame on them for taking over our police department. I've said several times that this is there's only 2 places in the entire country, in the entire United States, that do not have their control of their own police department, and us. Right. And so, and it is a direct result. We know that when initially we did not have control of our police state, it was a result of us being a slave state, and it was about them getting access to the arsenal and the weapons and wanting to be able to control that. And so I am vehemently opposed to any form of state control. I think that we have a right to police ourselves and we have a right to govern ourselves, and I would really like to see some Republican consistency, because typically Republicans believe in small government. They believe that you shouldn't have too much overregulation. You should let the market decide itself. Well, let the people in the city of St. Louis, we are our own market. Let our leaders rise and have our conversations and govern ourselves. And at minimum, if you guys are going to have control, then you need to pay for it. There's no way that you should be able to have say over how we're policed and how this whole law enforcement things work. And then City of St. Louis residents' tax dollars have to be a part of the process. I think that is an unfunded mandate. And so I'm opposed to the whole concept. But I know, unfortunately, government and judicial processes and courts don't go our way. And so I think if you guys are going to take control and take our autonomy from us, you should at least cut your own checks.
So they did say part of the budget taking the impact of the money that's normally going for other departments to fund the police department. Now there's a legal case that's going before the courts, around the police department takeover. Okay.
Yeah, so I think the first part for members of the public to understand around this is just the basis of kind of what the argument is over right now. And right now, the Police Board Commission is arguing that revenue includes all of the dollars that the city of St. Louis receives, that all counts as revenue, despite the fact that revenue is actually defined as unrestricted sources. So if you think of some of the things that the city gets money, we have a sewer lateral program because the residents voted on a tax at one point in time for sewer laterals. So all the money that comes to the city of St. Louis's general budget is already earmarked for the sewer lateral program, and it has to go into helping residents who run into sewer lateral issues. They're arguing that's revenue. Revenue is unrestricted source. And I don't think that this is really a serious discussion, because at the state, their budget works the same way. They have a number of things, the dollars that they get from the federal government, and they have a revenue. Revenue does not count as taxes that the state has decided to collect that has to go towards specific purposes. Revenue is unrestricted sources. So it is dollars that the city gets, and we have free discretion to give to whatever allocation we see fit. And right now, they're even arguing that RAM settlement dollars should be accounted as part of revenue, which is absolutely ridiculous. And so I don't think that at this time we're kind of having a serious conversation. I think yesterday it was announced, I'll say to give the history, the original thing that happened, I actually was able to host a town hall, and Jamala Rogers came, and we talked about state control and local control. I had herself, I had Casey Milberg, who at that time was the policy director, but she's the chief of staff for this mayor. And so a number of folks to talk about the issue and to talk to my residents about it. And I think at that time, President Green had filed a lawsuit. Mike Milton had filed a lawsuit from Freedom Community Center. He's the executive director, and I'm also his alderwoman. And Jamala Rogers had filed a lawsuit. And then I think yesterday the mayor announced that she, too, would be, I think she filed a separate lawsuit.
Right. You made mention in part one of our interview about Harris Stowe has come under attack, Harris Stowe University. We'll talk about that on the other side of the break.
Since 1972, New Life Evangelistic Center has been on the front lines, reaching out, helping the hurting, the homeless, the fatherless, the widowed throughout mid-America. Yes, although it's had its roots in St. Louis, it now has expanded throughout mid-America into India and Africa, Haiti, and other places around the world. Oh, what a history New Life Evangelistic Center has. And we have many of these history books available to you, and they're right there on Amazon. And if we can help you get one of those, you contact us at 314-421-3020. But in addition to all that, we want to share a lot of that history with you right here as we take a look at how the work began and how the Lord has taken us throughout the years and the miracles that we have seen, all because of caring people like you. You're part of the history of the New Life Evangelistic Center. We're on the verge of miracles. Yes, New Life Evangelistic Center has a rich history, but there's much more yet to come. And that's why I'm inviting you to familiarize yourself with the history of the past and be a part of the miracles of the present. Yes, let the Lord God Almighty work in you and through you. Let Him do exceedingly beyond what you can ask or think. He's got a purpose for you. And we want you to be able to live out that purpose as you get directly involved in the history of New Life Evangelistic Center and what the Lord is doing now.
2 Peter chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. May grace and peace be multiplied to you in the knowledge of God and of Jesus our Lord. His divine power has granted to us all things that pertain to life and godliness, through the knowledge of Him who called us to His own glory and excellence, by which He has granted to us His precious and very great promises, so that through them you may become partakers of the divine nature, having escaped from the corruption that is in the world because of sinful desire.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. In studio for a couple more minutes is that fascinating young lady, auto person, Alisha Sonnier.
Sonnier,
Yeah,
yes.
did I get it right?
There you got it right.
Oh,
you got it right.
Thank you. Real quick, we only got a couple more minutes. Issue with Harris Stowe on the state level.
They're fighting for their budget. They just got some serious cuts, and they get come for regularly. But right now, all the funding for educational institutions, and so certainly one of the few HBCUs, historical Black colleges or universities that we have, are definitely under attack and trying to get defunded for sure.
And also another agency that happened to uplift Black people has come under attack also, right? Minority?
Yeah, the Minority Women Business Entrepreneurship Program.
Say it again.
Minority Women Business Entrepreneurship Program.
And what is happening with that? That's
if you can recall Percy Green when he climbed to the top of that
absolutely.
arch. He climbed to the top of that arch and he was saying, like, listen, we have all these construction and fields and industries that exist, and your city has Black and brown people in it, but we don't make up any of your workforce on these projects. Vince Shamel ends up introducing and what becomes Minority Women Business Entrepreneurship Program. So we've had it for quite some time. Under this administration, the mayor paused it. Some Black alders responded and said, we don't agree with your pause and you don't have the authority to pause because this is ordinance. And then she reinstated it, but now we're having conversations and trying to figure out the direction of it. And there are some folks who feel that we need to go in a race-neutral direction, which is something that I do not support at all. And honestly, we could have a whole segment just about the MWBE program, but I think you'll see that political conversation as we've been, as a lot of the Black alders and Daniela Velasquez as well has been having conversations with SODC, and I think you'll see us revisit this conversation in this next coming legislative session.
Now, with all this said, if some people want to be in contact with you and say that on down in the future that we see you as a United States Senator and on to being elected President of the United States, how would they get in contact with you?
Well, first, make sure you keep advocating for mental health, because I'm going to need all the therapy in the world if any of those things are to ever happen, okay? But yeah, social media, obviously I have @Alder Sonnier for all of my official on Instagram, on Twitter, on all the social medias, or a Facebook page of Alderwoman Sonnier. This is an email address, so if you are not curious how to get in contact with me, you can do this. I'm at the neighborhood meetings every month. We have a quarterly town hall in the 7th Ward that we do as well.
Is it well attended?
Usually, I think our last one had a little bit over 100 folks, and it was about the Gravois Corridor Town Hall. I'm trying to do some emergency traffic calm in there. So yeah, they're usually pretty well attended, and I pick topics that folks are interested in and bring in guests that are really relevant.
Good. That's great. That's great. So your last thoughts about your battle as an alder person?
I would just say to anyone watching, one of the reasons I ran is I really wanted more people who typically don't think about running for office to think about it. I want more of us to see ourselves as worthy of leading our communities. As someone who's now been in a room, I vice chair a HUD's committee. I've probably given out millions of dollars as an alderperson. I led the first RAM settlement conversation on $250 million. I've created regulations around drones, a rental registry. I just hope that my leadership will be something that makes other leaders who who don't come from the most money, or who are younger, or who of color, know that they're fit and they're worthy of leadership, and that your community will be better for it.
Well, again, I really thank you for taking time out and laying out your work. And to the audience, like always, I encourage everybody at election time, know the issues and make sure you vote and take someone with you. Also, everyone needs to belong to an organization that speaks truth to power and has worked for humanity upliftment. We say join the Universal African People's Organization. On that note, may God bless each and every one of you.